Across Europe, a revolution is taking place. Wild animals are returning, some of them not seen in these parts for centuries. It's a phenomenon called rewilding. To understand more about this controversial and growing movement, I've come back home to Scotland. The journey takes me to the Western Highlands, sparsely populated, wild, remote and beautiful territory. We're on the trail of an ancient and hardy Highland cat who's survived in Scotland's farthest flung nooks and crannies for thousands of years, but whose luck is now running out.
This remote peninsula, Ardnamurchan, is at the heart of efforts to save the Scottish wildcat. It's an elusive beast, not dissimilar to the untrained eye to your regular tabby. But here in this whole area, there are only thought to be 8 or 9 of them, and that's out of about 50 in the whole country.
There would have been, potentially tens of thousands in the UK, and now we're down to 50. And our dream is to create a 7,000 square mile wildcat haven with up to 250 wildcats in as a starting point.
The fight to save the wildcat has been taken up by Paulo Donahue, scientist, farmer, Oxford University alumnus and uncompromising wildlife warrior.
It's a beautiful creature. It's perfectly adapted to its highland home. It's tough, it's a survivor, it's adaptable, and against all odds, it's actually hanging on, and it just needs that helping hand to get over the line and survive into the future.
Of all the animals then, you could choose why the Scottish wildcat?
Because the Scottish wildcat to me is one of, if not the rarest animal on the planet, and time's running out, and we are the only people who can save it.
It's sometimes called the ghost cat, a mysterious, solitary and mainly nocturnal beast that lurks somewhere in this highland landscape. Years ago, it was a trophy for hunters. These days, the wildcat is a protected species.
It's essentially a big tabby, right?
The Scottish wildcat certainly isn't a big tabby. Scottish wildcats and feral cats behave very differently. You'll find feral cat colonies where you can get 20 to 30 cats. The wildcat, you will never see that. They live solitary lives with overlapping territories, and in that way they live in harmony with the ecosystem. They don't overpopulate, they don't produce a big burden on the prey species. Feral cats do. They live in colonies, disease is common. Wildcats will only breed once a year because the conditions are so harsh. They've evolved to live in this beautiful wild place. The social system and behaviour is adapted to the Scottish Highlands.
Part of Paulo Donahue's work is to try to get a handle on exactly how many cats there are left in the wild. For that, he needs the support of local landowners. Laird Ewan McLean of Ardgour has been won over to the cause.
The claims of Ardgour have been here for around 600 years. Came up from the Isle of Mull, and the land was taken by force, and we've been here ever since.
We're on the Laird's Ardgour estate, 12,000 hectares of forests and mountains.
Do you know it all?
Yes, I know it very well. Yes, I've walked it many times. During the summer, hiking trips, and in the winter as well. When there's snow on the ground, it's quite beautiful.
Have you ever seen a wildcat on this estate?
I have never actually seen a wildcat on this estate, no.
Why should we save the wildcat? I mean, we don't even see it. Why should we bother?
Well, that's a fairly poor reflection on humanity if we can't save an animal just because you can't see it every day, I would say. Good boy. Come on. Come on.
So basically you've said to the wildcat people that they can look for wildcats anywhere on your estate?
Yeah, I've given them permission to set camera traps at locations where they suspect there will be wildcats, and hopefully when we see the footage there will be some actual cats on the tape.
What does it feel like to be a landowner of this huge and beautiful piece of land?
Well, we don't think of ourselves as landowners, we think of ourselves as guardians for the next generation.
How do you think the old lairds of several centuries ago would feel about you now trying to preserve this cat?
We'd hope that they would be very proud that we are doing our bit. They're obviously very much a part of the folklore.
Okay, so this is a really good tree to attach the camera on. If you kind of look through here, you can see a game trail. Animals come through here, and there's a good chance that this trail is also used by a cat.
Right.
They're very efficient and they use easy access routes through thick vegetation. We put this camera trap up here and we see what we get.
Paulo Donahue has been laying camera traps like this one all over the Laird's estate.
Yeah, it's a motion sensor, so anything that walks past, we'll get a mug shot of it right here.
And he has a few tricks in his arsenal to attract the wildcat.
This is our secret weapon.
Sardines?
Mackerel fillets in oil.
Yum.
A quick smell will tell you why.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. And because it's in the oil, when they rain, and it rains a lot here, it doesn't wash away the scent.
Right.
So this will last for a long time. It's our best bet. And the wildcats, they come in for miles for this. Yeah. Should we put some down here and see what happens?
Yep.
Paul's assistant, Ewan Brennan, has been trawling through hours and hours of camera trap footage. It seems it's not just the cats who go wild for tinned mackerel. The cameras capture all manner of local nightlife. This little guy is a pine marten, one of the more attractive members of the weasel family. And here, another member of the same family, the badger. But it's the elusive wildcat they're after.
Wow. Absolutely unbelievable, man. Where was this then? Where'd you get this?
This was in the same place as we found the one the previous year.
Look at this. I mean, it's like a proper tiger, like a little tiger.
If you devote your life to trying to save the creature, you celebrate its every point of difference with the domestic cat, even though to the rest of us, there doesn't seem much between them.
They're really, really good. Look at the stripes on that, man. It's got that kind of big cat swagger on it. Tail's flicking like that's what tiger did before he's going to start hunting.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. That is a proper, that's the real deal, man.
Yeah.
That is the real deal.
100%.
Today, hybridisation is the biggest threat to the wildcat.
So if you're a tom wildcat walking through the forests of the Highlands, you're more likely to come across 10, 20, 30 fellow cat females before you meet a pure wildcat. So the chances of you breeding, coming across another pure wildcat, is less, it's almost zero, which is why we're in the desperate situation that we find ourselves in.
What are the prospects for the wildcat? How long has it got?
It's imminent extinction. It's probably, with the numbers so low, 3 to 5 years. That's it. There'll be no, this will be an academic argument. It'll be like the dodo, it'll be gone.
So was he quite happy about this?
Yeah, he seemed to be, yeah.
The thinking is that the only way to save it is by carrying out a mass neutering programme.
Hello.
Hugh, hi, it's Paulo Donahue from Wildcat Haven.
Yes, hi.
Thank you. Do you mind if we come in and see your cat?
Yes, he's just
Excellent.
here. That's Chico.
Excellent. So he's
Looking a bit sorry for himself.
looking a bit nervous, but
a bit
we'll
nervous,
take very,
yeah.
very good care of him.
All right.
The way it'll work then, Hugh, we'll neuter him,
Yeah.
we'll microchip him and give him a really good health check.
Yeah.
And he'll come back to you tomorrow afternoon, spick and span and ready
All right.
to settle back into life here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it means then, crucially, that he can't go and mate with any of the female wildcats in the
Yeah.
area,
I
because
understand.
within a mile of here, there are really amazing wildcats.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to protect them.
That's good to know.
We thank you for letting us neuter your lad here, and we'll bring you back safe and sound.
All right, super job.
There's no better man for the job of hunting down unneutered cats than Nick Morfitt, the project's unflappable vet, a man who travels hundreds of kilometres in his own time to carry out this work. That means scouring the peninsula for domestic and feral cats, including one we're calling Kitty's mum.
There was a total of about 40 cats here when we first discovered the colony a year and a half ago. We've since neutered 39. We've got one left, and that's a cat without a name, but it's Kitty's mum. A lot of people think they're doing a good thing by feeding the cats, but of course, if you provide the resource, then the population will expand to exploit that. Morning, Donald. Yeah, good. How are you?
Oh, no bad, man.
It was a rough night.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
We got a kitty there. I don't know if it's Kitty's mum or not. So.
Great. Well, we'll go and have a look. Yeah, that's her. Yeah, we've got her. Yeah, she's taken a year and a half to catch, and that's definitely her.
And how do you know that for sure?
Well, we knew her to be a long-haired black cat, and the fact that she hasn't had the tip of her left ear removed means that she's not been neutered.
Donald, you've been essentially keeping 40 cats alive. Why do you do it?
Well, just we like the cats about the place, you know. Well, to keep the mice down and all, of course.
But Nick's telling you many of them have got bad diseases.
They're living, aren't they? They're still living. I hope some bugger carries on feeding me even though I'm dying.
Although Donald's cooperating with the Wildcat project, he doesn't think it will work.
My own personal view is no matter what they do, the cats will not come back till the ground's right and the rabbits are there, the food's there for them, there's nothing left for them. That's where they die.
Donald's actually touched on a really good point there, which is that there's more to this than preventing hybridisation. We've also got to look into the availability of food for the wildcats.
So you saw wildcats when you were younger?
Yes.
And when was the last time you saw one?
The last time I saw a wildcat, it would be when? In the 70s, I think. 70s or 80s. I don't think I'll see wildcats here in my lifetime again.
We're hoping we might change that, do something about it. I mean, we're hoping Donald might see some wildcats in his lifetime.
With the cat in the bag, it's off to the makeshift surgery. Chico was first up today, proving to be a reluctant patient.
Oh. Don't worry. Worst things happen at sea.
Saving the wildcat sounds glamorous, but this is what it boils down to: neutering cats in a cold and remote church hall.
Okay.
Will he know he's been neutered?
He won't, no. He won't have the urges anymore, but I don't think he'll notice that he doesn't have them anymore. We'll get this running first.
Yeah, that's it. She's got a bit of belly on her.
Next up, the feral cat known as Kitty's mum. The team thought they had neutered every feral tomcat in the colony, but maybe not.
Yeah, she's pregnant.
Pregnant?
Yeah, Lisa thought she felt a bit pregnant. I've just had a feel for the first time. She's pregnant.
Okay, so that means you haven't got every...
It's a bit of a soap opera, really, this thing.
So you're not going to spay her now, are you?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're extra happy that we've caught her, because if we allowed these kittens to be born, there could be half a dozen in there, and we might not catch the kittens, and then they would breed, and the whole problem would start again. And don't forget that there's disease running throughout this colony. I think it is genuinely better for the kittens that they aren't born, but it's certainly better for the feral cat problem, and it's certainly better for the wildcats.
I find it hard to believe that you could get a community on board to neuter every single cat in a whole country.
We want to change attitudes to pet ownership. Every cat should be microchipped. Every pet cat should be neutered. The way to do this is through lobbying for legislation. So yeah, this is a battle, and it's one that we have to and we should win.
A domestic cat, not a wildcat.
Some American funders of the Wildcat project are on Ardnamurchan to see their money at work.
Oh, I'm a crazy cat lady down to my socks.
Sandy Lerner is a philanthropist and a passionate rewilder.
I think we're, as a species, beginning to understand more about the importance of genetic diversity. But probably the most important reason, at least to me, is that if you're going to save an ecosystem, the predators are the signal species, and certainly the cats and the wolves are the top predators. When you have those species preserved, you can preserve everything under it. If you don't have those species, the food chain just kind of gets all out of whack, and it makes conservation, I think, pretty much impossible.
Paulo Donahue's group is not the only one trying to save the wildcat. The other school of thought is that a breeding in captivity programme is needed, but that's at odds with Paul's purist philosophy.
Captivity to me is not where wildcats belong. It's a Scottish wildcat, not the Scottish zoo cat. Animals in cages, wildcats in cages, doesn't help to conserve and restore this ecosystem. The wildcats need to be protected in the wild where they belong.
Can't you do both? Can't you do what you're doing plus in cooperation or in harmony with what zoos are doing?
I don't think you can with the wildcat because it's last chance saloon. If we were to capture a significant proportion of that population and put them in a zoo, well, that damages the chances of wild populations recovering. Every wildcat in the wild counts. It should be kept in the wild where it belongs and it should breed in the wild. That's really, really important to us. It's fundamental to our project.
Here at the Wildlife Centre, we also get the chance to see another wildcat, the focus of another of Paul's rewilding projects. This one much more controversial.
Paul, I've got to say, I'm looking at that and going, you're seriously going to release some of those into the wild? I find that quite scary.
I don't know why. That's a very dainty cat. It's about the size of a Labrador. It doesn't weigh as much as a Labrador. No threat to humans whatsoever. There's not a single case of an attack of a wild lynx on a human in human history. They are zero risk to people.
So if I went in there now with that?
No problem at all. No problem at all. But also, this is a captive lynx. This is in no way representative of a wild animal. If this was the wild, you would have no chance whatsoever of getting that close to a wild lynx.
The nearest wild lynx are in continental Europe. Paul has already been to Romania to source them from populations like this and is applying for a licence to bring them to the UK for a 5-year trial project. We're heading south to where Paul wants to release the animals, just over the border in England, a land of quaint villages where tourism and sheep farming bolster a depressed economy. It's here in Kielder Forest that Paul would like to release the lynx, 1,300 years after they were hunted to extinction in Britain, around the time the Vikings first invaded.
So lynx will cause what we call an ecology of fear. So at the moment, when you go through the Scottish forest, the deer are quite tame, they're quite sedentary. There's no predators. They sit around, they eat out an area, and they move on. With an apex predator like a lynx coming back in, you will see an almost instant change in behaviour. So you'll get reduced impact across the whole forest, and you'll get also some impact on deer numbers.
The theory goes that this area of forest is so large, 1,600 square kilometres, and the lynx such an elusive creature that even if there were one right here, he'd never know.
But farmers will take some persuasion.
We seem to get people that have come out of university, they have a PhD or a degree, and they seem to know it all. And theoretically, they probably do, but on a practical level, they are so far removed from really what is happening on the ground. They're almost slightly delusional to really what is going on out in the British countryside.
Greg Dalton's family has farmed this unforgiving land for 4 generations.
My father was brought up in that house over there. He was one of 12. As I say, the family's been sort of in this area since the mid-1850s. To me, as a farmer, you're either in it or you're not. It's one of those things you can't do half-cocked. You've got to be passionate about it. You don't do it for the money, you do it for the love.
He's got no time for the rewilders.
Nobody's going to be putting up with sheep being killed by a lynx. They'll get to the point they'll just sell up and move away, and the land will be left to go back to the mess of rewilding, and, well, God knows what it'll end up looking like.
Nevertheless, Greg has, at our behest, agreed to meet Paul to discuss his concerns.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Paul. Greg.
I'm Paul.
All right,
nice
how are you doing?
Very well. Nice summer we're having.
Exactly.
It starts out friendly enough. They're meeting at a viewpoint high above Kielder Forest, where, if Paul has his way, the lynx may soon roam.
You know, this is a massive concern. Talking to guys that farm in Norway, they've found that the lynx are becoming quite bold. The sheep are kept in sheds mainly through the winter time. They've actually found sheep with the lynx actually coming into the sheds and taking sheep.
I look very closely at the scientific data from all across Europe, and the simple fact of the matter is that lynx kill on average 0.4 sheep per lynx per year.
Well, we can all give facts and figures. And as I say, I think when you...
Well,
when you
give
look,
me them then, give me them. You tell me then, what percentage of ground nesting birds make up lynx diet? You won't be able to tell me. Give me the facts.
Can I ask, on Wikipedia, it mentions obviously a grouse is a prey of the lynx, that's correct?
You're getting your stuff from Wikipedia?
I looked on Wikipedia.
Come on, you can do better than that, Greg. Is that your best?
You say it's a fantastic habitat here, Keelan. What happens all of a sudden you get large numbers, and all of a sudden you have a large swathe of them, then what do they spread out?
Did you just say a large swathe of lynx?
Yeah.
They live in territories with one lynx per probably every 20 square miles. You'll never get, this is again, is completely incorrect what you're saying. You'll never get, it's unprecedented, an population explosion of an apex predator. It's biologically unprecedented. They're a different animal to what you think they are.
They haven't been here for 1,300 years. You're going to tell me the world's the same place it was 1,300 years ago?
That's because we killed every last one of them. Lynx are the very least of your worries. In fact, there's a strong case that lynx will reduce sheep predation because lynx are quite significant fox predators. And in Europe, they've shown that they've reduced fox populations by 10%.
I think I would question those figures. Unfortunately, personally, I feel that's a bit of a falsehood.
If you've got evidence to contradict what we're saying, then bring it in. And we generally want to see it. You should love lynx. I really hope you do.
So, Greg, well, what did you make of the lynx man, as you call him?
I think he was a very smooth operator and he talks a good talk, but I'm afraid he still has a hell of a lot of questions to answer in my mind.
I'm a scientist, so I look at things objectively. The literature, the scientific data is unequivocal. Just because a farmer thinks a lynx is a sheep predator, it doesn't mean they are.
Across the sea in Denmark, they're taking rewilding to the limit, starting with what seems like a fairly modest project. Right next door to Randers Zoo in central Denmark, and within a stone's throw of the city, is a herd of European bison brought from Poland, 8,000 years after they disappeared from this region.
One of the interests in using bison in rewilding in Denmark is to get grazing animals of this size out into nature to do their grazing and do their browsing and help maintain open to semi-open vegetation.
Professor Jens Christian Svenning, based at Aarhus University in Denmark, is one of the pioneers of the rewilding movement in Europe.
We really see massive losses of biodiversity at the moment, and if we look to the future, we see dark skies, we see really negative predictions of future extinctions due to habitat loss and due to climate change. And I think it's an obligation for scientists to work on helping us to overcome this so that we don't lose the biodiversity.
Now Professor Svenning and his team are working on the wildest rewilding project yet.
So when I talk to people about bringing back Asian elephants to Europe, a first response is of course often that people think it's a crazy idea. So if we don't dramatically change the way we deal with the conservation crisis for big animals like the African and Asian elephants and like the rhinos, we have a strong risk that we'll lose many of these species.
Professor Svenning fears poaching combined with the loss of habitat could spell the end for the elephant in the wild within decades. He thinks it's time to consider moving elephants to places like Denmark, where they can be safe.
All over Europe we've had elephants for more than 15 million years, and then with the expansion of modern humans across Europe, elephants were lost. So that's the idea of thinking to reintroduce elephants, that they really do belong here.
The European temperate elephant found here during the Ice Age is now extinct. But the theory goes that the Asian elephant is closely enough related that it could be introduced to Northern Europe.
We don't actually know if Denmark in the wintertime would be too cold for the Asian elephant. In historic times, Asian elephants roamed in China up into northern China in areas that today get as cold as in Denmark. I would also expect that we would see experiments with elephants in more or less natural settings in Denmark and probably also elsewhere in Europe within the next 10 years. It would be highly surprising to me if this doesn't happen because the scientific basis for doing these experiments is really solid.
I wouldn't advocate bringing elephants back to Europe. to be quite frank, I think that's a ridiculous idea, and it's hugely damaging for this kind of conservation rewilding movement, because it instantly gets someone's back up. If I say I want to bring lynx back, that's sensible, they used to be here. Elephants were here a long, long, long time ago, and the climate has changed since they were last here. It's about bringing the right animals back at the right time, in the right way. It's about doing things properly and strategically.
But one thing the rewilders have in common is a conviction that only radical action will suffice. Not just from scientists, but the whole community.
It's a very, very important project to take forward, I think. I'm really proud that we're part of it. It's a survivor. It's been here since Scotland was born, and let's hope it keep it that way.
I think people who don't accept the status quo are too often regarded as crazy. I think there's some leadership involved. There's certainly courage. There's commitment. There's passion. There's all sorts of things that are good. Does that make a person crazy? I'll sign up.